everyone, John here. Thanks for joining me for a new Allan Holdsworth lesson video. And today we get to do something really cool. We get to go over one of Allan's lead sheets, which I thought I had found them all, but luckily I was able to get another one. And I'm really excited about doing these because it gives you a really good insight on how Allan was thinking of the solo structure and the chords and what scales to use and stuff like that. It's the best way to sort of get into his head. You can probably analyze the solos and come up with your own charts and your own ideas of what you think Allan is thinking, but I'd really like to get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So I'm real excited to finally get a new solo chart. So this actually started about a couple of months ago. For Allan's birthday, somebody posted a photo of a bunch of Allan's lead sheets from the 1986 tour. There was one for a Tavercron and Funnels, which was great because I've never seen these before, but unfortunately they were kind of spread out, so I can't see the full chart. And a couple of months later I posted about it, hoping that anybody had other charts that I haven't seen, whether they were at a concert or whatever. And I hope I'm saying your name right, Casey Hauschildt, I think, I'm sorry if I got that wrong, posted actually a scale chart for Where Is One. And I was really excited because I've never seen this one before. And what's great about it is that it has a section in there that I was always really curious about on how Allan was addressing those changes. And now I got to see how he was at least thinking of it, but that always doesn't necessarily mean that's what he's going to play. So I'll go over that when I get to it. The other thing I want to tackle is when I did my Where Is One video, I got the ending I guess riff kind of wrong, the little lead that Allan plays right before the last chord. So I'm going to correct that. I think it's even in my 5-hour video. I have it in there incorrectly, so it's up there forever. But on the books that sort of accompany that, that's been fixed there, so I figured I'll address it here. And if anyone's interested, I thought maybe I might want to do a video dedicated to all the little things that I've gotten wrong, that I've corrected. There's not many, but it always bugs me when that stuff sort of sticks out there and then I find later, either I got the chord right but I have it in the wrong position or I missed a note or whatever. So if anyone's interested for a video like that, let me know. So anyway, let me get down to actually breaking down what the chords are for the solo and then the lead sheet, how Allan's interpreting those chords. So what makes this solo so difficult to follow, like a lot of other Allan's solos, is that a lot of times Allan plays as a three-piece, so it's just guitar, bass, and drums. So when Allan solos, you just have the bass in the background, and that doesn't give you enough harmonic content to know what are the changes that Allan's actually following. And a lot of times, what Allan is soloing over isn't very obvious. It's not something like Pud, Wud, or Funnels, where it's just the head section that's repeated over and over. There could be parts where it's a variation, like this particular tune, the chords are actually a variation of what we hear in the main body of the tune. Other times it could be something where the harmony is completely unrelated to the parts that you've heard before. So when you're trying to follow along with the solo, if you don't know what those changes are, it's really difficult to know where Allan is sort of going, which is why I like doing these videos so much. I can kind of figure them out and help people, so they can maybe follow it a little bit better. So, for example, Where Is One on the record, and for the most part when Allan played it with IOU, Allan's just playing with the bass player. So this is what it would sound like on the record, the solo. So if you don't know what the changes are, it's not very obvious to tell what Allan's doing. But luckily, when Steve Hunt joined the band in '87, he was in the band from '87 to I think '94. They did play this tune in the late 80s a couple of times, and luckily there's a good recording of them playing this in Japan in April of '89, and it was because of this version that I could finally hear what the changes actually are for the solo, which then maybe sort of reverse engineer what the chords are and everything. So this is what the live recording sounds like with Steve Hunt on keyboards. So now luckily with those keyboards now present behind Allan's solo, it's very obvious to me what those parts actually are, and without that I don't think I ever would have been able to figure out how Allan was approaching these chords, or what he's thinking the solo should be. So as you heard, it's actually very similar to the parts that we've heard before in Where Is One, but they're moved around a little bit. If you want to watch my Where Is One lesson video, I go into the song with more detail, so I'm just going to gloss over the solo section a little bit. So the first beginning part starts off with this section that's from what we heard in Where Is One. It's this A minor add 9 to the C sus2. You can also think of it as G sus4, but I'm going to think of all these as sus2 chords. So A minor add 9 to C sus2, and then to G sus2 to F sus2. Now, in the actual tune, that repeats 3 times, and then it gets to this the C major 11 kind of chord. Now, I'm thinking of it, I'm counting it as basically eighth notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm thinking that this whole thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 beats long, and that happens 4 times. Like I said in the earlier part of the song, it's 3 times and then this chord. But in the solo section, it's that 4 times. So it's a considerably large section. So now this F major 7 sharp 11 chord happens for 4 counts. Then it goes to this chord, which I called an E minor major 7 sharp 11, or you could think of it as like a D sharp with the E in the bass or the flat 9. So it plays that chord for 4 counts, and then it goes to this chord, which is a G major 7 sharp 5 for 4 counts. Now you can also think of it as a B major with the G in the bass, which is the flat 6. And then it goes to the same other chord before. If you watch my other video that I just put out about Allan doing this sort of 2-chord phrase thing, this is where it appears again. So then Allan plays this G sharp minor major 7 sharp 11 chord. Again, you can think of it as G major with an A flat in the bass. And then A major 7 sharp 5 chord, 4 counts. Or again, C sharp major with an A in the bass. And then finally, the same chord that we just did before, but now it's down to G, so now it's a G minor major 7 sharp 11, or it's an F sharp with the G in the bass. And that's all for 4 counts, I'm sorry. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it goes to this chord here, which is also what we saw before. Now in the earlier part, when Allan ends with this G minor major 7 sharp 11 chord, he holds it out for 8 counts. In the solo, it's 4. And then when it goes to this G sharp minor 11, that goes for 8 counts as well, because we have a G sharp minor triad here. Here's the 4, the 11, and then the flat 7. And that gets held out for 8 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then what ends up happening is Allan just moves his middle finger up a half step, and now you have this G sharp or A flat major with the add 11, and I also talked about that in my other video. So now it goes back to basically the intro to the tune that we heard, this A flat major with the add 11, but with that 7 feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it goes to F sharp major 7, and you're playing it this way. And that goes for 7 counts as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6, and that repeats again. Then that chord gets moved up a minor third, so now you're at A major 7. And then this B major add 9, which is just 3 beats. And then you're back to the A minor add 9 section. So now we know what the actual changes are that Allan's actually playing. So I'll play the whole solo section once, and then I'll go over Allan's scale chart and how he's interpreting these chords. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what the solo section sounds like, and now let's go over the scale chart. Alright, so this is what Allan's scale chart looks like. And before we go any further, I have to talk about the symbols here, because there's 3 main symbols. And if you watch my 5-hour video, you know that I've talked about these at great length. X means Dorian, and remember, when Allan writes these scales down, they are not reflective of the modal tonality of it, or the actual harmony of the chord. It's basically just a reference to say, it's more of like a positional reference to say, play this chord belongs to this scale, not what it sounds like. So that's what X is, and then there's X with the circle, which is Allan's symbol for melodic minor. Basically, it's like Dorian with major 7 there. And then we have a symbol with 2 circles, and that means the diminished scale. And I talked about this in that video, where Allan's symbol derives from how the scale looks like on one string. You basically, if you were to play, for Allan, the diminished scale starts half whole, not whole half, like it's technically supposed to be. But Allan thinks of it as always like belonging to like a 7 flat 9. So if we do it in A, it'd be A, B flat, and then C, C sharp. So the Allan symbol with the 2 circles basically just means like 2 notes, and then a break, and then 2 notes, and then a break, and then 2 notes and a break, and 2 notes, etc. So there's a visual component. I think that's the thing that a lot of people really, they dig. I think they get too deep into all these weirdo kind of scales, and it's not really like that. The scales are a lot simpler. Allan just plays, you know, more freely inside of them. Alright, that's a little bit of a tangent. So, anyway, the first part that Allan writes is D Dorian, or DX, with the line there, and that goes over this whole section, the A minor add 9, C sus2, G sus2, F sus2, because that whole thing belongs to C major, or D Dorian. And that's what that line means, is that you're basically playing that for a long time. So, but again, it doesn't tell you how long, you have to sort of know. So like I said, this whole thing basically is 2 measures, and then that happens 4 times, so it's basically 8 measures in total. So then after that whole section, it goes to this chord. Now again, I said that this is an F major 7 sharp 11, because we have F major 7 here. and then we take the 5 and we move it down a half step. Of course, you can call this F major 7 flat 5, and I think that's how Allan actually thinks of it, but it's really a sharp 11. And Allan's scale for this is D Dorian again, because F major 7 sharp 11 is the 4 chord to C major. So then it makes sense that, again, his simple is just D Dorian, so he wrote DX. So this is D Dorian for this four beats, so nothing changes there. Then we get to the next chord, the E minor major 7 sharp 11. Now this is interesting because I've already seen plenty of evidence, in my opinion, still heavily my opinion, that this chord Allan always interprets as a diminished sounding chord, or basically applies the diminished scale to this kind of chord. Now he could have played, I guess, B major add flat 6, you know, that we've talked about, that Allan likes to do with the little gamma symbol. A lot of times Allan will play like a E flat major with the B in the bass, that chord, and he'll write that this belongs to A flat melodic minor or the B major with the add flat 6. So that would work there, but Allan always sees this as a diminished part of the diminished scale. And you can kind of see it here because, like I said, we have like this sort of line of notes here. Now Allan's scale chart has a diminished scale, and I'm saying diminished scale because that's how I'm thinking of it, but technically it's half whole. And if we see, remember, the diminished scale repeats every minor third, so that could be A, or C, or E flat, or G flat. But for Allan, he wrote A, and you can kind of see it here. So that scale is belongs to, or that chord belongs to that scale. So Allan has now A diminished for this. And then the next chord, the G minor major 7, a lot of minor majors, sharp 11 kind of things, G major 7 sharp 5. This is another thing where I've now started to see enough times where Allan is almost always interpreting this as like E minor major 9. Because in his scale chart he's got now E melodic minor. So really it has like a Lydian sharp 5 kind of sound, because obviously he's playing a G on the bottom. But it's like this chord to Allan always belongs to E minor major 9. So whenever you see this chord, you can think of, oh, Allan's playing the melodic minor scale, just a minor third down. It's basically starting on the minor third up, because this will be your minor third, your 5, your major 7, and then your 9. So A diminished, E melodic minor, and then we go to this, like I said, A flat minor major 7 sharp 11, and then Allan has the E diminished scale here, and again that can belong to C sharp diminished, E diminished, D diminished, and B flat diminished scale. But again, it's just like the other chord before that we saw, and we can even see how the notes kind of line up. So this is E diminished scale, and then it goes to A major 7 sharp 5, which again Allan wrote the F sharp melodic minor, which relates to what we just did before. It's like a F sharp minor major 9 kind of sound, or A Lydian augmented. And then the G minor major 7 sharp 11, and that of course Allan wrote as the C diminished scale. So as you see, it's bouncing back between those two shapes, and Allan treats them both as either, you know, the diminished scale or melodic minor, diminished scale, melodic minor, diminished scale. Now what's interesting that I wanted to bring up is that was the section that I really had difficulty trying to understand how Allan is approaching it, because it doesn't happen often, but there are a few places in Allan's tunes where there are a lot of chords with a lot of tension that are just flying by, and I'm not sure how he's approaching it. The most obvious case is funnels with the that whole section. Allan has talked about to Steve Hunt where he sort of thinks of it as like a diminished sound, diminished thing. But I was able to look on the chart that that guy had posted before. It's, even though it's not the full chart, I can kind of see in the corner it says BX, DX, and then underneath it I think it says F sharp X. And right here, this would be belonging to B Dorian, this chord, and then this chord belongs to D Dorian. So I can say, oh, what's probably happening is that he's interpreting each one of those chords by themselves, which seems to be really difficult to do, but when you analyze Allan's playing, he's not following this chart. He's sort of just doing his own thing. So it's like what he wrote on paper to what he plays, there's sort of like a discrepancy. Maybe that's just how he's thinking of it, but then in the heat of the moment, he just does whatever. So with that section, when I first learned what the solo part was for the I thought, well, how's Allan doing this? So what I had thought was that maybe Allan is thinking of the triads on the top and not the bottom note. Maybe that's like, you know, the sort of what creates the tension, but your focus is on the upper part of the chord, because then you have like D sharp to B major to G major to C sharp major to F sharp major. And that whole thing belongs, I believe, to the Messiaen the third Messiaen mode. So I thought, oh, maybe that's where he'll use like the Messiaen mode. This was a long time ago before I really like dove in and saw that he really doesn't use that Messiaen third mode as much as people think he does, or at least doesn't use it in a diatonic kind of way. So I thought, oh, I think that's what's going on in there. But again, you would never know unless you had Allan's chart. And now, lo and behold, you see that he's actually wrote the scale, each scale to each chord, even though live he doesn't follow that. And if you listen to enough solos, you'll hear that he doesn't follow this diminished to minor major, there's no diminished to minor major 7 kind of sound. Again, it's like I've used this whole section to sort of create a lot of tension that I'm going to resolve with that next chord, which is that G minor 11 sound. And on Allan's chart, he just wrote E major, which is interesting because it has like a, it's almost like a F, G sharp Phrygian kind of sound. Think of it that way. But that's where that E comes in, is because this chord belongs to E major. So, just to reiterate, just before this whole section, D Dorian, then it goes D Dorian, A diminished scale, E melodic minor, E diminished scale, F sharp melodic minor, C diminished scale, and then E major for this one. That's, like I said, 8 beats long. And then the next part, which is an A flat major with an added 11. And on Allan's chart, he has A flat major. Now, I think I said this in my book in my 5-hour video, that I always interpreted this chord as a 1 chord, as like an Ionian chord, a major with an added 11. But it also could be your 5 chord, because Mixolydian and Ionian different only because of their 7th. Ionian has a major 7th, and Mixolydian has a flat 7. But I, for some reason, just instinctually always thought of this as like a 1 chord. So we can see this here, that Allan has A flat written down, and he's interpreting it as A flat major. So, and I guess this is, you know, this is in 7. Then it goes down to this F sharp major 7. So now, and again, that's in 7. And on Allan's chart, he has E flat X or E flat Dorian written. And that is actually more of a Lydian sound, so he's treating this more like F sharp Lydian. Now, instead of treating it as like F sharp major and going down a whole step, then it goes back to the A flat with the added 11 and 7 to F sharp major 7, and then that moves up a minor third, and that's a A major 7, and Allan has written out on his chart F sharp Dorian. Again, just moving what we just had up a minor third, so now Allan's treating this as part of E major, or an A Lydian sound, which is why he's got F sharp Dorian. And again, like I said, Dorian and all these don't reflect the actual tonality of the chord that he's playing, it's just the scale that he's choosing. And then after that, for that quick turnaround, there's that B flat major add 9. That's 3 beats. Allan has written down B flat major or C Dorian. Now, I'm not sure where Allan sort of thinks of it as, why is it major, or is it a Dorian kind of thing? I don't know. I've seen this on some of his charts, because obviously it's the 1 and the 2, B flat, and it's 2 is C Dorian. You know, why not just write B flat major or just C Dorian instead? I really don't know. Maybe it's a positional thing where he's coming from, or maybe C Dorian where he's going to. But, I mean, that's just a question we'd have to ask him. But either way, that's what that chord belongs to. He's treating this as B flat Ionian, really. And then after that, your you're back at the turnaround. And that's where the solo basically ends, because when Allan gets out of the solo, he starts with this chord part. So yeah, that's the whole solo. And I think what I'll do here is I'll take the actual solo from the record and I'll play it through, and then I'll just do a thing where I show you what the scale should be on Allan's chart. That's, you know, while you're actually hearing the solo. And then the next section, I'll talk about the little lick change that I had to make at the end. The ending line I had written out previously. I was very close. I had G, B, and then C, E. So it's a major 7 kind of thing, and that moves up in octaves. Now, when you hear it on the record, there's a ton of delay, and it was really hard to sort of pick out what was going on. But again, coming through live versions, it became very easy to hear because Allan was also playing it by himself. I think in the early 80s he was playing with the full band, you know, with drums and bass or whatever. And then later when he was playing it, he was basically just playing it by himself. So what it actually turns out to be is the middle 2 notes are swapped. So instead of it being G, B, C, E, it's G, C, B, E. But what's also interesting is that Allan is not playing it that way, which I had thought, because there's so many things where Allan will play something and then play it an octave up and play it an octave up, moving this way along the neck. He doesn't do that. He actually plays it like this: G, C, B, E. And then does the same thing on the next octave: G, C, B, E. And then finally he plays it with the bar G, C, B, E. And then the E minor major 7 chord in third inversion. Actually, I think in live version he goes, and this note moves down a whole step, but my finger can't do that. Something like that. So I wanted to correct that because I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff. If I put it out there, I want it to be accurate. So that's how that line actually goes. Alright, so thank you so much for joining. I think the next video that I'm going to do is not going to be an Allan one. I think I want to do a King Crimson one or a Meshuggah one. I didn't even realize I was wearing the shirt. But I'll see when I do these videos whenever I feel like them. So whenever the mood strikes me, I'll do it. So hopefully I'll see you then. Thanks for watching the video, and see you.